This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
I heard you've been looking for me, but you look for trouble. You're gonna see that your words are dangerous. Your talk is cheap. So now I'm standing here. You tell yourself you know what to do when you realize that I am coming for you. Then you'll change your mind and run like a child when you see me standing here. Now I'm standing here. Don't question my heart. Don't question the fire that burns inside.
Place to Be Nation, welcome back to another episode of Extreme Resurrection. I'm your host, James Gruenberg, and alongside of me, as always, is Steve Riddle. Steve, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. Looking forward to talking these next two episodes of ECW because we're entering in some interesting waters here with what goes on here in the month of June of 2007.
Yep. We just got through our last episode. We just got through watching One Night Stand 2007, but now we're in now we're like right between an ECW episode and a draft too. So we'll see what transpires between those two episodes with the draft coming up. So it's like gone with one pay-per-view and you're like right into the action again, with like things changing and everything too. So we're in for a wild ride, like you said, with the waters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Before we start here, we lost two WWE superstars, and one was one helped put ECW on the map, at least with the pay-per-view aspect of it, and that is Terry Funk. And we also lost Bray Wyatt. Terry Funk, who has been he's been all over the world. He went to Japan. He's been in WWF. He's been in WCW, ECW. He went back to the WWF in 1998. Then he left and went to WCW right until almost about the end there, too. So he's been wrestling for decades, and he won the ECW title at Barely Legal 1997. That was ECW's first pay-per-view. He defeated Raven, and that was a really good moment and a really good matchup there too. And he put ECW and hardcore wrestling on the map as well, Steve. So anything about Terry Funk?
I mean, the guy, there's been a bunch of other pods that I've, covered extensively. I know our buddy Sean Kidd on his new podcast over on the North-South Connection Territorial did a whole episode about Funk. So I won't say much about it, but it's like, yeah, he was the dude was a trailblazer. I mean, he, one of the few guys that was an active wrestler for, I think 5 decades. I mean, starting in the 70s. I mean, you list off his accolades. Let's not forget too, he was a NWA World Champion at one time. He and his brother Dory were, of course, the only brother duo to hold that title. And like you said, yeah, he hit like all the big promotions at all the big times. He was in WWF right when the Hulkamania era was really getting going. He was in NWA in '89 at probably one of their hottest years. Came back, like I said, WCW. He was in during the Attitude Era, and then like you said, he was one of the guys that really helped establish ECW. I know Paul Heyman is often credited Funk for being one of like the founding fathers of ECW, and then like you said, the big moment of Funk winning the ECW title at Barely Legal was definitely huge. And even him at One Night Stand 06, him and Dreamer and Beulah having that really fun 6-man with Foley, Edge, and Lita. So the guy was an absolute legend, and he is definitely one that his legacy, still lives on to this day. Like I said, as a pioneer, one of the like you said, the founding fathers of hardcore wrestling.
Yes, indeed. One of my favorite, funny moments on Terry Funk. There's sort of a couple of them, but one of them is he's introducing his daughter and everybody, his family to the WCW crowd in 2000, and he's like, "Oh, I'm not retiring until 2001. I signed a contract up until June of '01." So it's like, oh, Terry Funk's still getting a payday. And then Shane Douglas comes out and he goes, "I'm going to retire you, old man, right now." So bringing back bringing back some little ECW feuds in WCW between Shane Douglas and Terry Funk, and that was hilarious.
Yeah, that's that little run he has in like '99, 2000 as commissioner and as the hardcore champion in WCW was like one of the few bright spots of that year.
Yep, and then now we move on to a guy who I thought was coming back to WWE. I thought he was getting ready, and it happened. Wyndham Rotunda, also known as Bray Wyatt. The Wyatt family, when they came in, they started beating up Cena and everybody. And then Bray Wyatt got to do his match with The Undertaker at WrestleMania 31. And he got hurt during the practice. They were practicing their match and like going over like warm-ups, and Bray actually sprained his ankle, so it looked like he was in jeopardy too. But if you recall him coming out of like the shadows to go up against The Undertaker, it was a really good matchup there. And Bray just being Bray, the whole the Fiend, the Firefly Funhouse, Bray really switched up his character when it felt like he needed a fresh coat of paint or a paint of coat, and when he got released, I was kind of surprised. And then when he came back, I was like, oh man, like Bray Wyatt's back. And then he left again too. And I was like, well, what happened? And then he's like, oh, he's making a comeback. And then he passed away, And when Triple H's thing, I thought it was like, oh no, that can't be real. It's like, no, it's real.
Yeah, I remember being in like because I know that was like we were passing around on our chat pages, and I just really, I was in shock when that happened, because like you said, it was only I think like a week before they were saying about how he was getting ready to come back, and they were getting planning something for him, and then all of a sudden he passes away like this. It's insane, and it's crazy because if you look at the trajectory of how his career went, because you remember he first came in as Husky Harris in the original NXT in 2010, and you know there was some potential there, but you just weren't quite sure because he just seemed kind of generic almost when he was first there. But then when he went back down to Florida and then cultivated this Bray Wyatt character, it was just something completely different, and it was just so refreshing to see. And I mean, the things you've been hearing about from the guys, the people giving their little memories of him, is just how incredibly talented and creatively sound he was. And he's always a guy that I think a lot of he's was the kind of consternation of a lot of fans, more so not for him but more so for his booking. Him losing the scene at 30, I think, was a decision a lot of people liked, and but like you said, just the constant reinvention, with the original character and the Fiend, and then like you said, what we saw when he returned last year after getting released, with them doing the whole White Rabbit thing on the house shows and with all the little Easter egg things, and yeah, it was just an absolute gut punch. I mean, that had to. I'm trying to think back when the last time we had a guy who was like an active wrestler on a roster, just pass away so suddenly. I probably think the last one was Brody Lee in AEW a few years ago, and I mean, I'm sure that hit hard for Bray, and obviously this hit hard for their other partner, Eric Rowan, who I like that they did bring him in for SmackDown for the tribute. I thought that was a nice touch, and as the stories have come out that have revealed like the reasoning behind his passing, it just makes it even more sad. So he's a guy that I think could have had been so much more And now we just wonder, what could have been had he had come back and been continued on, and what his future would have been. I've been seeing a lot of posts from people saying that he should go in the Hall of Fame next year, along with Brody, of course, who was also Luke Harper. It'd be interesting to see if they do that. But again, just back to back, big losses like that for the wrestling community is, it's tough. It gives you that little sense of hey, we're all mortals, so we're all gonna go at some point, and it just kind of that sobering reality whenever something like that happens. So so rest in peace to Terry Funk and to Bray Wyatt. You'll both be missed, but your legacies will live on.
Yeah. Rest in peace, and everything will. Their memories will live on in the professional wrestling world. So, but I know we gotta switch gears here, but we do have a show to do as well. We have ECW June 5th, 2007. We're at the Amway Arena in Orlando, Florida. We kick off with a recap of Bobby Lashley defeating Mr. McMahon for the ECW title. So Bobby Lashley is finally the new ECW champion. He finally beat Mr. McMahon, Umaga, and Shane McMahon in what seemed like a three-on-one ECW handicap match, even though it's supposed to be one-on-one, but it was anything goes. So we're live at the Amway Arena, and we have Mr. McMahon. He's sitting in a rocking chair. He comes out. And then Bobby Lashley comes to the ring, as he will be in a handicap hardcore match, Extreme Rules. It's 3-on-1. It's Bobby Lashley versus the Sandman, Balls Mahoney, and Tommy Dreamer. The ECW originals surround the ring, getting weapons. The ECW originals started hitting Lashley with weapons. Huge trash can shot by Dreamer. Clothesline the Balls. Lashley throws Dreamer into the steps. Leg drop onto Lashley by Sandman. Tree of Woe to Lashley by Tommy. Balls accidentally hits Tommy with a chair. Balls misses a leg drop off the top rope. Then Sandman gets put through the table, and Balls gets speared for the pin. So Bobby Lashley wins his 3-on-1 handicap match. I went 1.5 on this, Steve. I thought it was good for what it was. It was good, a little bit of a lot of shots from the ECW originals, especially that Tree of Woe shot by Tommy Dreamer as well.
Yeah, I went 1.5 as well. Seeing Vince in that rocking chair, he definitely looked like one of those old men you see on their porch. They're like, "You damn kids, get off my lawn!" That's the way he looked. He just looked so just such like an old man. It's so weird. Yeah, the original's got some decent offense in here on Lashley with all the weapon shots. The leg drop off the top from Sandman actually looked fairly decent, and then like you said, the Tree of Woe from Dreamer, and then Dreamer took a nasty chair shot there by Balls. I'm surprised he didn't suffer concussion after that. And then Lashley pretty much finishes him off, puts Sandman through the table with the spear, and not the prettiest spear on Balls. Balls definitely looked like he was protecting himself a little too much from that, but still a decent, good little win for Lashley as he overcomes the odds again, and then he kind of, he basically goes to Vince and stands in front of him holding the belts up, and Vince just has that dazed look in his face, like he could care less. So, decent stuff here to keep Lashley going strong.
Yeah, and a good start to the show here, as well. So now we, like you said, Lashley holds up the ECW title right in front of Mr. McMahon. And then we get Kevin Thorne versus Steven Richards. Thorne beats up Stevie in the corner. Stevie throws Thorne to the outside. Thorne bounces Stevie off the guardrail. Stevie gets a comeback and lands a drop kick to the back of Kevin Thorne. Sit down powerbomb to Stevie. and then the original Sin for the win. For this match, Steve, I want a star. It was all right, but I think the fans here were just like, this is boring, like they were chanting really heavily boring. I found Stevie not to be the best, but they are really trying to push Thorne here to go up against some better talent here, and they're really trying to give Thorne a push.
Yeah, I want a star as well. The crowd pretty much could care less. I think I go back to what I say. After Thorne lost Ariel, he basically lost the one thing that made him interesting, and now he's just a dude. But like you said, they're definitely trying to keep him somewhat, strong, but pushing him. Stevie's not the worst choice to put a guy like Thorne over because he's a veteran. Thorne the offense was kind of in, but Stevie had a decent little comeback there, and then Thorne finishes him off pretty easily with the original Sin. So, again, nothing much here, just to kind of give Thorne another win as they look to see what to do with him.
Yep. So then we get an extreme expose by Layla, Brooke, and Kelly. They come out and dance, and then we get the recap of the stretcher match. As we said before, that is Rob Van Dam's last match in WWE for a while. As he said that he was burnt out and he wanted out, so Rob Van Dam got his wish. They're trying to make it seem like he's just out indefinitely from injury, but that's really not the case because he doesn't come back until 2013, like he's on the roster for a little while, but he'll make sporadic appearances there, here and there. As I said before, he came back for the Raw 15th anniversary show in December of 2007. So Rob Van Dam is done with WWE at this time, and he did get the win over Randy Orton, but Randy Orton gave him a DDT as well to kind of put Van Dam out of his misery here.
Yeah, pretty much. Going back quick to the Extreme Expose, and I mentioned earlier how the crowd would care less about the previous match. They were actually they were pretty dead for this segment too. I mean, usually the girls can get at least somewhat of a reaction out of the crowd, but it seemed like they just could care less at this point. And then a good little like you said, the recap there of RVD getting pretty much put out by Orton.
Mm-hmm. So now we have a tag team match. It is Elijah Burke and Marcus Corvan versus the Major Brothers. So I remember before One Night Stand 2007 that Matt Striker said that he was going to fight the Major Brothers, I remember. And now it's like the card has like totally changed. I wonder what happened, because like I remember like Striker was like, "Oh, I'll face both of you if I have to." And then as I was getting towards this match, like as I was getting towards this week afterwards, I was like, that can't be right. Like this match, like Matt Striker versus the Major Brothers seems so bad. Unless Striker was gonna put the Major Brothers over, but I guess they changed direction here because we have Elijah Burke and Marcus Corvan versus the Major Brothers. I don't know if you remember that, Steve, or not.
Yeah, I can't remember. Maybe, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I just remember that too, and I was just like, oh, okay. Like, so now they changed it because now we'll see where Striker is in our next matchup here. But we do have this tag team match. Chops applied to both Corvan and Bryan. Burke misses an elbow. Hip toss by hip throw by both Major Brothers to Burke. Flapjack to Brett. Clothesline to Brett. Huge elbow drop by Burke. Tag to Bryan. Flying forearm by Bryan. And then basically a body blocker to Bryan by Corvan for the win. So Corvan hits the body blocker on Bryan, and he gets the pin here. For this matchup, Steve, I went 1.5 stars. I thought it was pretty good. The Major Brothers really tried to get one over on the whatever's left of the new breed here. But again, another solid performance by both Burke and Corvan. So I got 1.5 stars.
I went 1 3/4. It was a good little tag match. Corvan and Burke still look pretty good as a little unit here. The Majors are, slowly getting their legs under them. Obviously, Brett always played a good little face and peril. It's funny, Burke ended up kind of hitting him in the back to send him into his corner so that Bryan could get the hot tag, and then had a good flurry there until Corvan got the blind tag, and the pounce that he hits Bryan with looked really sweet. Bryan took a nice little bump from that, so obviously keeping Burke and Corvan strong, particularly Corvan as he gets the pin. So decent little tag match there, and gives the New Breed a good win after they took had to take the loss at One Night Stand.
Yep, and so now we have CM Punk versus Matt Striker here for the main event. And like you said, Steve, it does look like Corvan and both Burke are getting a push here. So we'll see what happens here as we move forward towards the draft. Maybe they'll get separated or whatnot, but we'll see what happens. Like I said, now we have CM Punk versus Matt Striker in our main event. Striker says he's going to teach Punk a lesson. Drop kick to Striker by Punk. Backdrop by Striker. Clothesline by Striker. A half Boston Crab by Striker. Spinning neck breaker to Punk. Running knee and bulldog to Striker. But it's like for a 2 count. Striker then counters the GTS, and he tries to go for a neck breaker, but that gets countered into the GTS for the win by Punk. So the winner is CM Punk. For this matchup, I went 1 star and 3/4 here. I thought this matchup was good. Striker really was trying with Punk, and Punk is a very interesting character here, and I like his moveset here with the running knee and the bulldog and the tie kicks. It really does work out for me.
Yeah, I went 2 stars on it. I thought it was a good little main event. Both guys do have good chemistry together, so they got to show off their stuff. Striker got some good, decent offense, and I did like at the one point he went for the Boston Crab and he kind of lost his balance on it, so then he just let it go and hit a big splash on the back, which I thought was a nice little recovery before going back to the half crab. Good little comeback there by Punk. Hits the stiff knee into the bulldog, and then like you said, countering the neck breaker into the GTS for the win. So again, clearly kind of showcasing. That Punk is clearly the at least the number 2 babyface on the brand behind Lashley, and Striker puts him over strong. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, because it seems like again they're building Punk up to something. So maybe a Punk Lashley match probably down the line would have been pretty cool to see. So we would just have to wait and see, I guess.
Yes, we do, and that Punk versus Lashley matchup isn't going to happen as we get there, too. But I want to see what happens with Corvan as we get towards these waters, the waters here as well, too. But like I said, that Punk versus Lashley match down the road is not going to happen. And I'm going to pull it up because we had a draft on Monday Night Raw before this ECW show. And I'm going to pull up the draft results here. Give me a second.
Well, I have them up too, if need be. So.
Okay. Yep. Hold on. Alrighty. So we got. Yeah. So it also took place in the Wachovia Center in Wilkes-Barre. That was the Monday Night Raw here. So we have for SmackDown. Let's see. No. Oh yeah, for SmackDown, they got the great Khali got drafted to SmackDown. ECW gets the Boogeyman. Then Raw gets Queen Booker and King Booker, and Queen Sharmell. ECW gets Chris Benoit. So Chris Benoit and the Boogeyman now are on ECW. Tori Wilson and Chris Masters go to SmackDown. Bobby Lashley, who is the ECW champion, is now drafted to Raw. So when Lashley gets drafted to Raw, Mr. McMahon makes him forfeit away the ECW championship. So the ECW title will remain on ECW, but Bobby Lashley is no longer on Raw. Therefore, we have a vacant ECW champion. We have a vacant ECW title as well. Your thoughts on Lashley going to Raw, Steve?
It made sense. I mean, I think they realized after, having him be part of like that huge match at WrestleMania, then with the feud with Vince, that they wanted him on the A show finally. And it made sense that since he's now on Raw, he shouldn't be the ECW champion anymore, so keep that title on the brand. We should just mention really quick that the way they did the draft was they had interpromotional matches throughout the night, and whoever won the matches would win the pick for their brand. So I thought that was a kind of interesting touch that they went to do that.
Oh, yeah, yep, mm-hmm. Yeah, it was good. Like if your side won, you got the pick, so... let me see here. I believe it was. So it was Bobby Lashley who defeated Chris Benoit. So Chris Benoit ends up actually going to ECW, and I guess CM Punk got the Boogeyman drafted over to ECW as well because he defeated Carlito. So that's how those two got drafted to ECW here. So we have Ric Flair going to SmackDown. Snitsky, who's been on ECW for like a couple of months now, he goes to Raw as well. And then Mr. Kennedy goes to Raw. I thought that Snitsky was going to be a team player in ECW. I don't know why they want him on Raw,
Yeah, well, I guess maybe because they figure they could just have another monster heel on for ECW because they did also do after this a supplemental draft. So there were a couple of guys that were traded to each of the shows.
Oh yeah, this gets even worse. It feels like
Yeah,
because Viscera. Well, it doesn't get worse, but it gets kind of like bad for the ECW side. Viscera is traded. Viscera gets drafted to ECW. Then the Sandman gets drafted to Raw.
That just made no sense.
Yeah. Hardcore Holly, who was on ECW before getting injured, he's drafted to SmackDown. The Miz gets drafted to ECW from SmackDown. Then the Major Brothers get drafted to SmackDown from ECW. And then now we have Layla. No, we have two more. Johnny Nitro gets drafted to ECW from Raw, and Layla gets drafted to ECW from SmackDown.
Makes sense. Oh, Layla makes sense. I mean, she's been part of Extreme Expose, so just might as well make it official. And then, Viscera, Miz, and Nitro, they really weren't doing much on their brand, so I guess just put them over to ECW, maybe give them a little bit more exposure. But yes, a Sandman going to Raw just made zero sense. That was a Vince call, clearly.
Yeah, I know. Sandman has said, like, on his thing, he was like, I was sitting at home, and then, Johnny Laurinaitis, Johnny Ace came on. He said, Hack, you've been drafted to Raw. I'm like, wait, what? You had no idea. He's like, yeah, you're going to Raw now. So that must have been crazy that must have been like weird for Sandman, So it's sort of like, I don't know, Steve, like it feels like it's sort of on the short end with ECW, but we'll see what Chris Benoit, the Boogeyman, the Miz, Johnny Nitro, and Viscera do for ECW's brand as we go forward.
Mm-hmm. And interestingly, kind of interesting point here, of the ECW originals now, Tommy Dreamer, the only one still on ECW because Sabu's gone, Van Dam is gone, and Sandman is now on Raw. So Dreamer basically by himself.
Yeah, I mean, if you count Balls Mahoney, I guess he's still there. So, I mean, but the original four, yes, Tommy Dreamer is the only one there. So, now we're live again from the Wachovia Center, ECW, June 12, 2007. We get a recap of Raw and the draft, and then this happens. Mr. McMahon leaves Monday Night Raw after saying, I believe he said thank you to the crowd, and then, he just leaves. And then you see, the infamous, Paul London smiling, and then everybody's just, watching him go. Patterson and Briscoe are the last ones to, say goodbye to him, and then he shuts the door and the limo blows up. So now Mr. McMahon is presumed dead. I feel bad talking about this now, but this is what is happening.
Yeah, and we were talking about before going on the air that seeing all this, in the current day with what happened in real time definitely feels a lot more bizarre. But yeah, like the whole thing about Raw was like, yeah, now it was just a draft, but it was also ECW. I mean, Mr. McMahon Appreciation Night. And then, like you said, he comes out. He doesn't even really say goodbye. He just stands in the ring for a minute, and then he heads to the back, and then, like you said, he walks past everyone. And yeah, the infamous moment, like Paul London with the wide-eyed grin on his face. He's probably thinking to himself, "Oh shit, I'm probably gonna get fired for this one."
And I think that's why he got fired. Actually, people have said that is the reason why Paul London got fired, or one of the reasons, for just screwing up and being unprofessional.
Right, and then, like you said, yeah, then he passes everybody else, and then at one point, he goes to leave, but Coach stops him, tells him he's going the wrong way, so then he goes out to the limo, and yeah, just the whole thing of him hesitating again, and then like you say, he shuts the door, and then the limo blows up. Yeah, really weird. I think that's just the best way to describe it.
I know for the time being, with the aftermath of what is truly going to happen, I was a little invested in the storyline to see what was going to happen. And then, 2 weeks later, it's oh, well, something else did happen, but we'll get there eventually.
Yeah, I did think, though, them doing the 10 bell salute and the in memory of, I thought was a little bit too much. Because they're basically trying to imply that it was Mr. McMahon, the character, that presumably died, not Vince McMahon, the man. And it did feel a little bit heavy-handed at times.
Oh, yeah. And it's going to be a little bit more heavy-handed, too. As Joey Styles is well, we're putting on all these great matches here for in honor of Mr. McMahon. It's yeah, it's a little bit over the top, but okay.
Yeah, and the fact that we're in Philadelphia too, I think.
Yeah.
And, the crowd reaction was, and Joey and Taz even kind of called the crowd out on it, saying they're being disrespectful for it. But I think even they knew what was really going on.
Yep. Yeah. How. But now we have so we do have this ECW show from the Wachovia Center. It's Tommy Dreamer versus Balls Mahoney in an Extreme Rules match up here. Way to get the crowd going in Philadelphia. And, I do feel that, they did some good they did a good job with this show. It's being from Philadelphia, and, they wanted to give their best for the Philly crowd because they know how the Philly crowd gets here.
Mm-hmm.
Tommy and Balls exchange punches. Baseball slide into the table by Tommy. Tommy hits Balls with a kitchen sink. Tommy goes into the steps. Trash can lid shots by Balls. Trash can shots to Balls by Tommy. Balls trips Tommy face first into a chair. Tree of Woe with a trash can this time to Balls Mahoney. Balls misses a dive. And then a DDT into a chair by Tommy for the win. For this matchup, Steve, I went 1.5 stars. It was good, it was really good here. Just two ECW originals going at it here. Like you said, because now Tommy's all by himself and Balls is still here from the ECW originals. But they did a great job with this Extreme Rules match here, matchup here, pulling out the sink and everything. So I went 1.5 stars.
Yeah, I went 1.75 stars. It was a fairly, good garbage ball by these two guys who, considering some of the shots they were taking in the match, maybe at this point in their careers, maybe shouldn't have been taken, but, they do go all out, pull out all the weapons. The Tree of Woe with the trash can was a good spot. Unfortunately, they get occasional trouble with the table where one of the legs bends the wrong way and it doesn't get set up properly. But they made it work with Mahoney going through the table and then Dreamer with the DDT on the chair to finish it off. So again, fine stuff for two ECW stalwarts. Yep,
and now we have making his debut. ECW. He's going up against Matt Striker. It's Matt Striker versus the Boogeyman, and Striker is very scared of the Boogeyman. Shots in a dropkick by Striker, splashing a clothesline by the Boogeyman. It looked like a little small spine buster to Striker by the Boogeyman for the win here. I went half a star, and then the Boogeyman feeds Striker worms. So I went half a star on the match between Striker and Boogeyman, because after last week's main event with CM Punk, you thought Striker was going to do better, and then he gets put into this match up here, and it's like he didn't really get any offense, and Boogeyman just sort of squashed him because Striker was scared of his own shadow, basically.
Yeah, I went a quarter star. Basic squash here. It's kind of funny they decided to bring Boogeyman over now when maybe he probably would have fit better a year earlier when they were throwing out all those random ass characters like the zombie and the freaking whatever else characters they had coming out in the early days of ECW on Sci-Fi. Maybe that's probably when Boogeyman would have fit a little better. But anyway, I mean, it's fine. He's decent enough character to kind of work on the Sci-Fi channel, and Striker had that good showing against Punk the week before, and now he's reduced back to jobber status here as he puts Boogie over in 2.5 minutes, and then he gets the worm treatment. So again, nothing much, just to establish Boogeyman here on his new brand.
Yep, so they've gone over and over that there is no ECW champion here as well, because Bobby Lashley got drafted to Raw, and he has left ECW, and the championship title is vacant here. We have highlights after the limo exploded on Monday Night Raw, and this got a little bit sketchier too, them just pointing out there's a big fire and stuff, and you see the sparks still exploding, so you just it's weird to look at it now,
Yeah, again, just kind of recapping everything and showing that the footage afterwards of the fire truck coming up and putting the limo out, and like you said, it's only going to get a lot more weird after this.
And believe it or not, weird as it is, we're already at the main event now, Steve, as it is. ECW's new draft pick, Chris Benoit and CM Punk versus Elijah Burke and Marcus Corvan. I think this is a fine main event here. Punk and Benoit here versus the new breed guys who are trying to get over. A very good combination here.
Definitely.
Punk starts off with Corvan. Corvan goes to work on Punk. Tag to Burke, knee to the face by Punk, tag to Benoit, duplex to Burke, tag to Corvan, heavy strikes to Benoit by Corvan, flying forearm by Punk, drop kick to Corvan by Punk, and then we're back from commercial. Burke has Punk down, a clothesline to Burke, spinebuster and a slingshot to the corner by Corvan. Corvan gets his team disqualified, though, because he's not listening to the referee, and he doesn't get out of the ring by 5. So it's a disqualification. So Chris Benoit and CM Punk are going to win by disqualification. German suplexes and a sharpshooter to Burke as Corvan just goes out to the outside here. Steve, for this match, Steve, I went a star and a half. I would have gone higher if we would have had a finish, but I feel like I can understand why they did the disqualification, because they are trying to protect Burke and Corvan, but I really liked this match up until the end.
Yeah, I went 2 1/4. I actually enjoyed the tag. I thought Benoit and Punk actually looked pretty cool as a team. The grizzled veteran with the young upstart, and putting them, like you said, putting them with Burke and Corvan, you're kind of establishing these 4 guys are going to be your studs going forward on the brand now that Lashley's gone. I thought they had good little back and forth. I thought Punk was good as the face in peril. I agree. I thought the ending was a little bit weird. I don't know why. I kind of thought if you want to establish Benoit, you give him a win here. I think Burke could have taken the submission loss and it wouldn't have hurt him too much. But the ending I definitely thought kind of was a bit weak. that Corvan's not listening to the referee's count gets himself disqualified. I thought that was kind of lame. But then Punk and Benoit look good in the end. And in ways, they basically take Burke out with the combination of the suplexes, the headbutt, and then the sharpshooters. So it could have gone, unlike you, it could have gone a little higher in the grade if the ending had been a little better. But I think it was still a good little tag to establish these four guys. And particularly, like I said, these are the four guys that are probably going to be in the hunt for who is going to be the next ECW champion.
Yes, indeed, as well. Well, that's going to do it for the ending of the show. But actually, before the show goes off the air, you see that Punk and Benoit are fist bumping each other. That they're on good terms as it comes to being tag team partners. And looked like Punk was like, "Well, welcome to ECW."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, kind of again establishing that almost kind of like that little veteran youngster mentality between the two.
Well, that's going to do it as ECW goes off the air. He goes off the air here. But before we go, Steve, is there anything that you want to direct the listeners to and plug?
You can usually find me over on the PTB Pop Experience. I got a couple of shows over there, making Mount Rushmore, the Video Jukebox Song of the Day, and Pop Goes to Classics, where we just dropped our recent episode where me, Andy, and Miranda discussed Dinosaur. Kind of a ho-hum movie, but we made it work, so be sure to listen to that. Also, check me out on the North-South Connection. I was a part of the one of the more recent episodes of Carnoso, where we talked SummerSlam 88. I specifically talked about the Brother Love segment with Hacksaw Jim Duggan. And I was also on a recent episode of the where me and Ryan Gray hyped up the Becky Lynch Trish Stratus cage match from Payback. So be sure to listen to those, and be sure to follow everything on all the feeds, especially with Noso, especially on their YouTube channel. Lots of good stuff going on there. So if you haven't subscribed to them yet, please do. And also be sure to go to the PTB Facebook group. The Greatest Song of the 2000s tournament is going strong. We are halfway through round one. A lot of big matchups have happened. A lot of big ones still to come. A lot of interesting decisions have happened. Ones I'm still kind of sometimes, gnawing my teeth over, but that's what makes the tournament so good. So if you've not yet, please get in and vote.
Oh, I vote every day. I can't wait till you get those polls up and running every day. Some of them, it's just because they're more popular songs, than the ones that I like, and I'm just like, oh, I hate it, Just a Girl, by the Click 5. I was like, no, you had to put it up against this one, So, good surprises, and ones where it's like, oh, really, it's got to go up against this one, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but again, that's what makes it fun.
Yep. As for me, besides this show here on the Place to Be Nation feed, you can also find me on Nation Invasion, where I go back and I go over the WCW invasion of the WWF from 2001. Steve, you were my last guest on the Buff Bagwell July 2nd Monday Night Raw from Tacoma, Washington. And we all know what happened there. It was a little bit of a bad ending. But now I'm going to be recording the next episode with Jennifer Smith as we covered the Raw from July 9th and the SmackDown from July 12th from Atlanta, Georgia. And things make a turn for the extreme part of the invasion. So we'll see what happens there. Well, that's going to do it from us from Extreme Resurrection. I'm James Gruenberg. He's Steve Riddle, and we will see you next time.